is a very beautiful and a tiny temple in the middle of nowhere. If you have a strong Chandra, it is believed, you have emotional intelligence, memory, empathy, and nourishment. The special times to visit this temple are on Mondays, which is of course a moon day. Sage Daksha had 27 daughters, and Chandra married all 27. Hi, we are on an early morning trip to the next Navagraha Temple, Chandra. This temple is about 35 kilometers from Kumbakonam. This temple, dedicated to Chandran or the moon and very much a part of the Navagraha circuit, is the one that's a little off the other cluster of 4 temples around Kumbakonam within, say, a radius of 20 kilometers, and the other cluster of 4 more temples towards the coast, which is like about 60 kilometers or more from Kumbakonam. This one is a lone one towards the west, towards Thanjavur, that is slightly off the circuit. So you may have to keep a morning or something, especially for visiting Chandran and coming back. The temple associated with Chandran is called Kailasanathar Temple. That is, of course, the name of Shiva, the Lord of Kailash. Thingalur itself, the Tamil word Thingal, means the moon. This temple was constructed 1500 years ago, among the oldest in the circuit. This was built before the Chola period by the Pallavas, a Pallava king called Rajasimha in the 7th century. And again, this is a Padal Petra Sthalam. It was celebrated in song. Song being the collection of hymns by various poets of that time, a collection called Tevaram. Therefore, we know for certain that temples like Chandra and a few others have all been mentioned in the Tevaram. So they are all Padal Petra Sthalams, and the Chandran temple that today that we are going to is no exception. The original temple from the 7th century was expanded by the Cholas. They made it a point to sort of clean up and do the expansion bit of older temples in a pretty systematic way, especially along this Cauvery Delta. The Cauvery flows somewhere here. In fact, it's all sandy now. I don't know how much you can see. This is the fertile Cauvery Delta. So must have been a prosperous place even during Chola times and earlier. So the Cholas made it a point to not only build new ones and grand ones at that, they also made it a point to repair, reconstruct, expand old temples like this one. Furthermore, in the 16th century, the Nayaks, who came down south and ruled this place at a later period, also took it upon themselves to reconstruct. So this pattern of constructed by Pallavas, expanded by the Cholas, and reconstructed by the Nayaks is something that keeps happening in this region, especially over and over again. It also shows that whoever the political rulers might be, places of worship enjoyed continuous patronage. This is the furthest from all the other temples in the circuit, and also this is in a proper village. This is not a small town. This is a very rural setting, right at the middle of fields and narrow roads and all that. So didn't expect this kind of tourist this early in the morning. There is Shiva, Parvati and Chandran. You can see the crescent on Chandra's head. This really looks like a small village temple. So this must be the main sanctum inside. And we can go around. There are shrines all around, so we can take a look at them. This is the Ganesha shrine, always the first. One of the shrines around, because there is a yellow cloth around the shrine. I'm thinking it's probably Jupiter. Murugan, who's a favorite god in South India, the warrior god with his lance, also known as Kartikeya. channel of excess water from inside pouring outside. Seems to be working. This is Chandra Bhagavan. We just went inside. It's a very beautiful and a tiny temple in the middle of nowhere, but so proudly kept by the people, I think. Lots of local visitors coming in tourist buses. You can see the rural setting right here. A beautiful little temple in the middle of nowhere, except for, of course, some village with its paddy fields. Inside, for once, the glimpse of Kailasanathar in lingam form was so beautifully maintained in clear light. It was a pleasure to see it. This seems to be popular with the local people especially. Even though it is small, something about this place is so charming. Inside, the idol was beautifully lit and Parvati's shrine was next door, and outside in this circuit over there is the Chandran. The special times to visit this temple are on Mondays, which is of course a moon day, when the crowds will be more. Today is not a Monday. Or during full moon nights, that is to be expected. Or in the Tamil months of Purattasi, mid-September to mid-October. Or in Panguni, which is mid-March to mid-April. And during these times, the moonlight falls in such a way that it falls right on the Chandran's idol. So the architectural form has been so designed that during those periods, the moonlight falls directly on the Chandra idol inside. Really beautiful temple. It's extremely small. You could probably walk around it in 5 minutes flat, and maybe with another 5 minutes inside. In 10 or 15 minutes, you're really done. But you feel like spending more time. We have to tell ourselves that this temple, for all its recent paint job and reconstruction and all that, it is really 1,500 years old, in the middle of a paddy field. Main legend associated with this Chandran temple, the Kailasanathar Temple, is to do with a sage called Sage Daksha. And Sage Daksha had 27 daughters. And Chandra married all 27. Now, once you get married to 27, you are expected to, one would assume, spend time with all of them equally. But what Chandra did was, he had a favorite, the fourth one, called Rohini, and he spent more time with her in what is called the lunar mansion. There were 27 lunar mansions, or positions of the moon, really, and therefore he was spending more time with Rohini than with others. Naturally, the 26 neglected wives went and complained to their father. Now Sage Daksha got really mad. He cursed Chandra that he would lose all his light and shine and would fade into nothing in 15 days, gradually. So naturally, Chandra came here to Thingalur, to this temple, and there is a tank nearby. I have not seen that tank over here. And Chandra had a bath there and begged Shiva to help him from this curse where he gets to lose all his light and become dark and nothing. So Kailasanathar helped him by negotiating with Sage Daksha and working out an arrangement whereby he got the curse to be reduced, and that he would not just wane away from sight, but he would wax again for the next 15 days and then wane again. So it is a way of explaining the lunar cycle, the Tamil way. But if you think about it, telling a story to talk about certain facts about astronomy is a fantastic way of making something memorable. I mean, we all know by now from our school textbooks that the moon takes 27.25 days or something like that to go around the earth, and therefore you get the phases of the moon. But how much easier to remember this by saying that a sage cursed Chandra, that's how he sort of loses his light gradually and then regains it all over again and becomes the full moon. It's beautiful. So that's the reason why the moon does what it does. These are the steps leading up to the famous water tank where Chandra is said to have had a dip and prayed to Shiva. Except, of course, today There is no water here, absolutely dry as you can see, but still you can say a historic spot from 1500 years ago. In Jyotish, Chandra the moon governs your mind, emotions, mother, mental health, and the unconscious. If you have a strong Chandra, it is believed you have emotional intelligence, memory, empathy, and nourishment. A weak or afflicted Chandra creates emotional instability, mental illness, and troubled relations with your mother. So that was our visit to Kailasanathar Temple, where Chandran as the hero. Very lovely experience. Not sure what I actually expected to see, but certainly not a rural setting like this. Maintained very well. All the inner sanctums nicely lit. Plus, we also learnt why the moon never goes permanently dark.